Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're right now on the cloud transformation panel discussion. How cloud will prevail, building a cloud strategy. We're talking about creating a policy, strategy, and adoption plan, establish a full empowered cloud center of excellence, supplement skill shortage, and seek knowledge transfer. We're talking about recognizing the need for optimization as an integral part of cloud migration, adopting a hybrid multi-cloud strategy, CX at the center of cloud transformation. How do we mitigate the challenges of virtualization? Who owns and controls the data? How do we ensure compliance and security in a regulated industry? Well, we're looking at covering this and much more. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have our panelists who are joining us: Vasanth, Kumar, Rajarathinam, the SVP Development Lead, Enterprise Risk, DBS Bank. Well, Vasanth has more than 20 years of experience working with banking and financial organizations globally. He joined the DBS Bank in November 2019 and is leading development teams building applications for the consumer and operational risk platforms. He's also responsible for transforming legacy applications into scalable cloud-native solutions. Joining him would be Juan, Intan, Kanggrawan, the head of data analytics, Jakarta Smart City. Well, Mr. Kanggrawan is an analytical technocrat and a business strategy professional with a comprehensive 10+ years of exposure in business, government, and technology. He's somebody who drives organizations to make better decisions faster across levels and functions. He crafts and aligns strategy, policy, technology platforms, analytics, and organizational design to achieve business and institutional objectives. We also have Rizki, Rusdu, Wijaya, the head of data, West Java Digital Services. Well, Rizki has more than 10 years of experience working in data and information technology sector. He's somebody who joined the Jabbar Digital Service in January 2019 and led the data team to build data technology innovation in West Java province. He's responsible for the use of data management technology, including data engineering, data analytics, and data visualization to support decision-making and policy formulation by policymakers. Also, this entire panel discussion is going to be moderated by Sonny Supriyadi, the SVP Head, Pricing and Data Analytics, Maybank, Indonesia. Well, Sonny is a seasoned professional and has been assigned to various pricing and data analytics initiatives in Asia, Europe, and North America. These include leading transformations to optimize existing or newly established platform and or departments for developing people and organization business model, process, as well as systems. So ladies and gentlemen, with this now I pass on to our incredible panel. First, thank you so much for joining us on the World Cloud Show. Thank you once again. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Bhavana. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, panelists as well. This is a very happy day for us. I think we will discuss a few things that at the moment is in a big topic at the stage. We have World Cloud Show. We talk about how cloud will prevail. So before we enter into a topic, I guess maybe one of you can introduce further about your role within the organization and how we're going to connect this and how can we share the knowledge into this discussion. I think I'm going to start with people from the government first. Juan, Jakarta Smart City, please.
Thank you, Pak Sonny. So a brief introduction about myself. So as a head of data analytics at Jakarta Smart City, my role is quite straightforward, to be open. So I'm just helping the government to make better decisions faster, nothing more, nothing less. So I think by using cloud platform and technology, I think it's highly exciting to improve in terms of the speed and the quality of the decision. Thank you, Pak.
Fantastic. Thank you, Juan. And Rizki from West Java province.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sonny. Okay. I am Rizki Rusdu Wijaya as a head of data in West Java Digital Service. Okay. That's it.
Okay. And thank you, Rizki. Vasanth?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Vasanth Kumar. I'm from DBS Bank, Singapore. Within DBS, I'm part of the technology and operations team, where I lead multiple development and production support teams within the consumer and ops risk platform.
Brilliant, fantastic. So we have two different sector, we can say that. One is from the government point of view, and the other one from banking sector point of myself, from banking point of view, as well with Vasanth. So maybe we can enrich the discussion from different angle, from different perspective. Of course, there are a few topics that we will be discussing within this period of time. Number one, I will be talking about the strategy in adopting a cloud. So we were talking about why, what's the reason? Why Jakarta want to go using cloud? Why West Java want to use cloud? What's the reason behind it? What's the driving force to use that? And then the journey in that, is it difficult, is it easy? We're going to talk about that as well. So let's start with the first one, the strategy in adopting cloud. We can start with Juan.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Pak. I'll try to be brief, so feel free to ask further questions if you want to dig out further about the context in Jakarta. I think the reason is quite straightforward why we use cloud. Firstly, I think it's the so-called mainstream or the general business model, I think, in these recent years. So in terms of the adoption, scalability, the easiness to implement, I think cloud has the clear advantage. I think that's one of the key reasons. But at the same time, there are potential challenges as well, especially from the government, which is, let's say, from the regulation, the location of data center, and so on. So if you ask me what is the most straightforward strategy for, let's say, a smart city in implementing cloud, I think we use cloud with the real specific use cases, something that is concrete, and at the same time, in terms of the policy security perspective, there is no critical issue or concern. So if you want to know more details, I am open to receive more questions about that. But in general, that's the way we strategize the adoption and implementation of cloud. We really understand the concrete use cases, who are the stakeholders, and there is no security and or sensitivity concern in terms of the implementation and execution. Thank you, Pak.
Great. Can I just follow this one of the question as well? When we talk about the strategy in here, do you have support? Obviously, one of the early adopter possibly need a very good, strong backup. For example, it's top down. Do you have that as well?
Yes, thanks for asking that question. For sure, in any organization, even in industry, in the government, the leadership support or the stakeholder support are highly critical. And I think I'm quite happy that I think quite a number of leadership positions, say even from the governor, head of the agency, the ICT agency, I think they are highly supportive. But again, try to be realistic in sorting out the exact details and administrative matters, how to execute. I think that's another point of view that we need to tackle. But in terms of the support and also the leadership commitment, I think we get that at this moment. Thank you, Pak.
Fantastic. That's great, Juan. What about West Java? Rizki, what do you think about the strategy in adopting cloud in West Java?
Okay, for strategies to adopting cloud in West Java, the reason is simple, but maybe to make easier to scalable. But technically in West Java, the strategy are divided into several phases, including want to migrate from the old infrastructure to the cloud technology. It assess or audit, control, and streamline current infrastructure operation for all apps stored on any server. Then we take over apps that are controlled by third parties to ensure autonomy. Then after that, we do virtualization. And phase 2 is we categorize application or system and prioritize only those that are required or regulated, or those that have low bandwidth or workload to deploy on premise, and prioritize which application can be moved into virtualization incrementally. And the strategy and the third is improve data center capabilities, size, security, power, and service, and look for the hybrid option. And the fourth is build a government cloud environment in a cloud provider and integrate it on-premise with the hybrid solution. Then automate or make it easy to access this hybrid cloud for any government agency. And the last is continue to optimize and shape infrastructure and service to suit the budget and needs of user. Make sure to update or replace old hardware or systems, and improving user-facing infrastructure and such as dashboard, provisioning system, gain flow, upgrade and disable virtual machines. That's it.
That's very good, Rizki. You mentioned about how many stages in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Where are you now? Are you in phase 1, phase 2, or you mentioned about to migrate from the old information or system infrastructure into cloud, or is that from phase 2, the categorization, or where are we now?
Okay, we are on phase 4. We are now building a government cloud environment in a private cloud. We have a Jabar cloud now, but we still improve that.
So you are using a private cloud, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, that's good. I'm going into different angle, different perspective. This is from bank's perspective. We go to Vasanth. Vasanth, what is the phase or maybe stages in adopting and utilizing cloud technology in your environment?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, Sonny, can you please repeat that question?
Yeah, this is basically adopting and utilizing cloud technology in your organization.
Yeah, so within DBS, I mean, we have started this digital transformation journey quite some time back, right? So for last few years, we have been following this journey, and today we are at a very fairly advanced stage, I would say, in terms of adopting to cloud. So within consumer risk platform, where we build our applications. So we build all of our applications using the cloud native technologies. We use tools and frameworks which enable that, helps us to build cloud native applications like microservices. And we follow a hybrid cloud approach, leveraging predominantly on private cloud platforms. So we use these private cloud platforms to build our microservices, and then we deploy them. And these services are built using 12-factor methodologies and guided by our SRE principles. So we have been adopting to cloud platforms and technologies for quite some time now, and we are at a fairly advanced stage at this point in time, I would say. Yeah.
Yes, I noticed also that DBS, one of the best place in terms of digital banking, has been getting award for quite some time as well. I understand that the journey has been started in early 90s or maybe early 2000s, I guess, and then continuously up to now, digital transformation has been going on. With that in mind, how do you envision the progress of the cloud going forward, knowing that you are at the moment in the advanced stages of the operation of it?
So we are in a phase where all of our internal applications that we build are cloud native in nature, right? So at the same time, for the legacy applications, the legacy monolithic applications that we already have, we are also in the phase of transforming them into more of a decomposable microservices, and then deploy them into a cloud native platform. So this is another phase that we are working on. At the same time, apart from the private cloud platforms, we are also exploring public cloud platforms as well, to see if some of our workloads can be migrated into the public cloud without compromising the data confidentiality, of course. Yeah, and that is what we are working on at this point in time.
Great. I just want to add a bit more from another banking perspective, that we are in the Maybank. Also, we just actually started try to move to cloud as well. The reason being that there's heavy regulation in terms of using cloud in banking sector in Indonesia. One of the sector that most regulated is banks. So in terms of data, there is a rules or regulation that prohibited us from putting our data in cloud unless the data center is in Indonesia. So with the upcoming vision from two large, or maybe three largest organizations, AWS, Alibaba, and maybe GCP, coming to Indonesia, and that they're thinking to put the data center in Indonesia, there's a good sign, possibility, will open the door for banking to utilizing cloud technology. I think the one of the challenge that we have, possibly Vasanth already mentioned earlier, the legacy, how we're going to deal with that. Should we do hybrid first? Should we do in stages and so on? Obviously, each of the organizations have their own challenges. So to go into that, I'd like to bridge it from challenges that we in Maybank faces. Of course, I mentioned about infrastructure. We're talking about not only from IT perspective, but also from data perspective. There's a lot of layers in it that requires a lot of attention. Not to mention that, should we put everything there? Should we mask it or not? If we mask it, and how are you going to retrieve it back? Should we put the staging server or no? That kind of questions always appear in my head, that that stages need to be first, or no, that stage may be later, or that kind of thing. All discussions appear before we embark. But I don't want to go into specific and details. But what is the challenges that you are facing? Of course, this is coming from government point of view. Juan, I'd like to go to you first. I understand that as a smart city, I'm sure there's been a lot of data that you required from your side to be dispersed to other businesses, organization within the Jakarta governance.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sonny. So if I get your question correctly, you have explained some of the key challenges in terms of the cloud adoption, and I think you are also asking how we can approach that, especially from the government perspective. And thanks for the context. I think it's really helpful. I think in this panel we have from banking or finance sector. I think it's quite similar in terms of the complexity or the challenges in the way we are handling the data, and also the way we adopt cloud. I think in terms of the complexity of the regulation, I think we face something quite similar. I know there are certain strict regulation in the banking as well, and same thing in government as well. So as you mentioned, in Smart City, we are working together with, I think, more than 200 agencies, even just only in Jakarta. The way we analyze data, multi-sectoral, multi-domains, and so on. So I think managing, storing the data in such a way is highly critical for us. Just to mention, for example, like the citizen data and the demography data, so on. So we know it's required, same like the customer in the industry, right? So citizen is our heart, or our kernel. But when we want to deploy certain, or we want to formulate certain policy, we must be able to understand our citizen comprehensively. At the same time, we want to transfer, exchange, or manage this data together with other institutions. We must consider the sensitivity of the information. I believe you handle or you face something similar with customer. So just to mention a few, I think this is the really common challenge that we face. So I think the question as simple as where we should store the data, and then what kind of data that can be shared to the public, and what kind of data that can be shared to other institutions. I think that's the fundamental questions that we keep thinking, because as a government, we try to be open. We will need to share the public data. I mean, you can ask more during the COVID-19 context. We receive more and more this kind of so-called attention. At the same time, we need to share as much information as possible to the public. At the same time, we know some of the details are really, really critical and really, really sensitive. So we need to really manage it, just let's say for the Smart City and Agency of Health. So feel free to ask more questions about that. So yeah, we really face this, and yeah, we have certain standard like ISO standard about data security, data management. In terms of the technology, we assess accordingly about the security of our network and so on. Even in the SOP level or in the business process level, we have a bit more clarity in terms of the way we manage cooperation between institutions, let's say with the government agency, with the industry, with the research institutions. Because I believe, if you are aware, that as a smart city, we are trying to be collaborative and cooperative as much as possible. We try to think through new ideas together with other business entities, with universities, with research institutions. So naturally, we always receive this kind of tension. We try to share our data as much as possible. At the same time, we know some of the sensitive data, we need to keep it. So again, yeah, that's the some of the story and some of the strategy and steps that we have taken so far. I mean, if you want to know and dig more, feel free to do so. I think that's my brief answer, Sonny. Thank you.
Yes. Well, that is interesting. I noted 2 points there that you briefly mentioned, which is interesting. Basically, when we are using cloud, there are 2 things that we need to look at. One is where to store it. The second one is how you're going to share it. So in this context, we're talking about not only data credibility, that data has to be clean because you're going to share with other people. Data need to be protected. That need to be secure. How you govern that?
I'll try to be straightforward in this. I can give a bit more detailed elaboration, but in a simple way, we try to split or categorize the data in such a way. Let's say this data is not sensitive. This one is in so-called normal in the term of the sensitivity, and this data is highly sensitive or highly confidential. By having this kind of category, it really helps us in giving us the guidance. I can tell you, even just categorizing in this field level is quite challenging in the government context. It's not easy because we are handled with so many varieties of data from different institutions, even to distinguish, to decide whether this is a public data or is a sensitive data. I mean, it's not that straightforward. That's one thing. And secondly, in terms of the technology platform itself, you already emphasized that point. So we ask ourselves, where should we keep public data? Where should we keep data just for the usage in one agency? Where should we store the data that can be used collaboratively internally within government agencies? And which data that we should store, but that can be shared together with the industry, with the university. So we have the concept like the playground part. So I think the idea is to have co-research together with Jakarta Smart City and with other research institution, industry, and so on. So the idea is we can have like the API, the data, the prototype, so we can co-develop solution together. That's the idea, that's the direction. So by having this kind of strategic direction, we arrange accordingly in terms of the cloud platform, what kind of platform is suitable for us. Even just to be open with you, we are in the phase that we are thinking not only hybrid solution in terms of the cloud and on-premise, but even for the cloud itself, we are thinking multi-cloud approach. So I mean, if you want to know more, I can share a bit more details about that. And from there, we strategize accordingly which kind of so-called cloud provider that we use or select for which kind of use cases. So I think we are in this stage.
That's very good to know. As a Jakarta citizen, I'm very happy that our data is safe in your hands, Juan.
Yeah, it's not easy, but we are still improving it progressively. But yeah, hopefully there will be more and more exciting improvement moving forward. Thank you, Pak.
Great, great. Now moving to Rizki. Rizki, what happens in Japan? Is that the same challenges that you're facing or slightly different?
Okay, I think West Java challenges are similar as Jakarta, as Juan told before, and maybe there are accelerating and improving employees' knowledge and building their capacity related to the growth of specific information technology in the cloud environment domain, and then upgrade or replace the legacy hardware or software to keep up with the rapid development of cloud technology with limited budget but suitable for use, and policy on sensitive data that should not be stored in public cloud that do not yet have a data center in Indonesian administrative area. So it is necessary to be careful in choosing data that is possible to store on the public cloud. And we are hoping that central government can accelerate the process of passing RUU PDP on data security and protection, so key players can operate on the shared standard. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I like that two words they use. Limited budget. I think we all in the same situation sometimes as people that are working in the data related, security related, how to protect the data. At the same time, we need to make it as soon as possible, quick, fast, and so on. So I guess this is as classic symptoms. I'd like to have the most sophisticated, that's the top one says that, and then but on the other hand, we only got very limited budget. I guess this is a same story. Not sure maybe with Vasanth in DBS, because we know that Vasanth is already spearheading the journey of cloud in terms of maturity. How do you see these challenges, Vasanth?
So, Sonny, for us, I don't see this as a challenge, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, predominantly for our consumers applications, we use private cloud platforms. So the data still remains with us within our private cloud platform. So and it is secured. So from that perspective, we are definitely making sure that the data privacy and the data confidentiality are intact. At the same time, we are also since we have adapted to this digital transformation journey quite some time back, our development teams also have adapted to this practice of building cloud native applications, following the right principles, and making sure that we follow privacy in design, right? Kind of an approach to build secure applications for all of our banking applications within the consumer risk platforms. At the same time, we are also exploring the possibilities of putting some of our workloads into public cloud. So there we have come up with certain architectural patterns, design patterns, deployment patterns, I would say, where we are looking at various possible ways to see how we secure the data. So still we keep the data. One of the options we are thinking is still we keep the data in on-prem in our private data centers, and have only the compute instances on the cloud. So there are various strategies that we are looking at in terms of adapting to the public cloud as well. Yeah.
So when you said that we are, in terms of DBS, at the moment enjoying using private cloud, why do you want to move to public cloud? What was the reason for that?
So again, there are various needs, right? So there are quite a bit of service offerings in the public cloud as well. Even though we have our private cloud platforms, there is the services that the public cloud offers today are something that enticing. So we would want to take advantage of those services as well. And this is one of the reasons we are looking at public cloud platforms. And there are certain workloads, right? Like as you also mentioned. So there is also thinking that can we have the non-production workloads in the public cloud? So this is one of the thought process that we have as well. So we can actually utilize the public cloud for non-production instances and deploy the production instances in our private cloud platforms. So these are things that we are looking at. Primarily, the service offerings are the key reason. Yeah, I would say.
Interesting, very interesting. So the service offering coming from the public cloud is the what you mentioned, enticing for the DPS. That's great. With our organization, Maybank, we don't have that option. We only have one option, that those who have a data center in Indonesia will be using them. That is the stage that we are currently have. And we've done a few POC, proof of concept, before we embark on the real initiative, utilizing few data and modeling, and then we compare between on-prem and then we're using cloud with critical the data, if we're masking, if we're not masking it, what happens, how complex it is, and then we measure it, and then how long it takes. That kind of thing is required. I'm sure maybe when you started, you also do the same thing. You did that in the past, maybe from all of you. But from my point of view, from Maybank point of view, we just started. So we are a crawling baby at this stage. But talking about that, this is something, maybe this is the last question from my point of view. I'd like you to more elaborate further about the journey that you embark, how to get there, because this will be useful for all the audience here that may be thinking to start to embark in this initiative. Let's start with Juan.
Sure. Thank you, Pak Sonny, and thanks for the brief elaboration that you shared from your organization perspective. I think it's very similar in the Jakarta Smart City context as well. I think firstly, as I mentioned, that we try to be very selective in terms of our use case. Hopefully, it's the influential and the strategic one. That's one thing. And secondly, for sure, as you mentioned, same thing, that we need to assess accordingly. So in every decision, we should be able to answer the question, why? I mean, why we are doing this, why we choose A, not B, not B, right? So because the one who may so-called not challenge but may question or ask for justification can be from anywhere, can be from technical background, from non-technical background, from management level, and all the way until executioner level. So in that case, to really have a proper assessment in terms of the adoption of cloud strategy is highly critical for us. Let's say we already know in the future we are developing our, let's say, one-stop service mobile application, or so-called our super apps, to integrate multiple services from the government agencies. So in doing that, the business case is quite clear and straightforward for us in terms of the mobile application and the data. So we may increase our traffic and usage 5, 10, 20, 30 times in the future. But what does it mean by the future? Is it 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now? We don't know. So that kind of scalability and robustness perspective that really pushing us to think through about our cloud adoption strategy. And then the next question, okay, now we want to adopt cloud. So which part of the data, which part of the system that we should integrate or we should migrate to the cloud? So that's the next question. And then the following question will be, what is the expectation after we move to the cloud? How fast it is, how robust it is. So if we multiply, let's say by 5 times, 10 times, what will happen in terms of the implication of the cloud technology? How about the cost implication, pay-per-use, let's say, approach, and then how can we handle from the administration procurement perspective? So I think there are so many interrelated questions. So, but if I try to put it in a simple way, it's as simple as 2 points. First one is what kind of specific strategic and influential business case and use cases that we want to focus on. That's the first one. And secondly, we try to always answer the question of why. And we try to address this question can come from anyone, from the governor team, head of agencies, even from the public, and so on. So I think by having this, we can have a more realistic and a more scalable cloud adoption that also support and also highly aligned with the strategic vision of Jakarta Smart City and also Jakarta as a city. I think that's my comment, Pak Sonny.
Fantastic. What about Jawa Barat or West Java, Rizki?
Okay.
Where are you in the journey?
Thank you, Pak Sonny. I start from West Java Digital Service Vision. The vision is to realize the realization of West Java as a digital province based on data and technology in supporting responsive, adaptive, and innovative public service and policy making. And there are West Java have 3 missions, including making data to support in decision making and policy formulation that is more measurable. And second, transforming public services through the use of digital technology. And third is accelerating the formation of a digital innovation ecosystem for social welfare. And my team and I have responsibilities to support West Java government to focus on few things, including standardized high quality data, and provide recommendation for data produced through application on IoT. And third, integrate and transform data into good quality data. Ensuring data interoperability, build a data lake, data warehouse, and data mart for analytics, and analyze and visualize data into insight for recommendation for public policy making. And some example project that we have done using public and private cloud include first, almost all application being developed by West Java Digital Service, both in development and production environment, are stored in private and public cloud, such as Sapa Warga, Picobar, Satu Data Jawa Barat, Satu Peta Jawa Barat, Open Data Jawa Barat, etc. And large amount of data storage, including waste data, and 3, cleansing social assistance data. The objective is to eliminate duplication of the names of social assistance beneficiaries based on the identity number of the other 8 social assistance programs. In addition, to find a match for the names submitted by the public compared to the name contained in the Population Administration Information System or SIAK atau Sistem Informasi Administrasi Kependudukan owned by Ditjen Dukcapil, Kemendagri, and by using one of the machine learning algorithms to find similarities. And the last is cleansing PCR test data. The objective is to find the number of individual from the specimen data from the swab test result or the duplication. And from this data, a correlation between the result of the swab and the data on existing COVID cases was also sought to see whether the massive tests carried out in each city district were effective on target. Okay, that's it, Pak Sonny.
Okay, thank you, Rizki. Vasanth, do you want to add some more about the maturity journey that you are now and how you see your organization in future?
Yeah, Sonny. So I think, sure. So I think Juan and Rizki has given more information in terms of how to adopt to this journey, right? So I'll just add on to what they said. So obviously for this adoption and migration into cloud, I think few things are important. So one is to have a dedicated cloud engineering team who can set the guidelines, set the roles and responsibilities, and the principles that to be followed by the respective development teams in migrating the applications. Obviously, when you plan to migrate, just don't think of just doing a lift and shift of your existing application from your private data center into cloud. And that's not going to be beneficial. So you have to think of breaking down your monolithic applications into microservices, more of cloud native in nature, so that you can take leverage and advantage of a cloud native platform. And obviously, in terms of the strategy, if possible, try to follow a hybrid multi-cloud strategy so that there is no stickiness. That's more important. And obviously, whatever we do, the stakeholders are the end users are the focal point of they are the beneficiaries, right? So for example, in our case, within the consumer risk platform, we have made sure that with all those advancements, we have made sure that the entire credit approval process for the loan applications, we have reduced it from days to instant, right? So from rather than waiting for days to get an approval of the loan application, we can do it within instantaneous. So through the straight-through approvals and straight-through processing. So these are the advantages that the cloud migration would bring to any organization. So if we can approach this along with the most important thing, the data confidentiality, I think we are well set for embarking on this journey. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think from our perspective, when we are using cloud, one of the issues that we wanted to achieve that because the user, for example, if it's retail, then our client will be using it either through API or either through app or whatever it is, and through their phone, they want to access it immediately. Yeah. So in the government sector, the users may be slightly different because not just citizens like myself. Obviously, communication is one of the key sector that unless you're communicating to them, they won't be able to understand what app should I use for getting this information, that kind of thing. So how do you see this, from front-end point of view rather than back-end point of view? We talked about back-end earlier and how we can approach that. What about the front-end point of view?
So obviously the front end is consuming the services from the back end, right? So as long as you have made sure that your backend applications are split into multiple microservices, serving the necessary service requests which the front end requires, I think the customer journey is also going to be very seamless. So this is what we have seen even in our existing consumer risk applications as well. Obviously, if somebody is applying for a loan from our Digibank app, so we have to give a confirmation instantaneously to the customer whether the loan is approved or not, right? Or if the person is eligible for a higher loan, we would also recommend the person to apply for a higher loan. So all this decisioning happens in a instantaneous real-time online scenario where both the front end and the back end seamlessly work towards providing the journey to the customer. So it's not just digitizing the front end, it is also making sure that the back-end services complement that so that the end-to-end journey is seamless.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's very inspiring. That's very inspiring. What about Juan? In your organization, maybe slightly different because again, I mentioned about the customer is different between us banking and the government sector. Who actually your main client or customer when they are using it as a front-end point of view?
Yeah. Let me answer this from the journey of smart city itself. So in the beginning, we serve our citizens so they can give complaint and then responses and so on. Right from there, we follow up, we measure the timeliness in following up that complaint and so on. But I think in the last 1 to 2 years, I think the demand or the requests from the citizens are more and more demanding. And I think we realize that our customers, so-called, are not only from the citizens, but also from other government agencies, from other industry, from university, from research institutions, because they can ask for services for the smart city. So I think we are operating not in the vacuum environment whereby only government sectors, right? So we have like let's say the example from the banking sectors. We have the unicorn startup. We have so many digital companies who provide the seamless solution via application. And I think our citizens are expecting somewhere along that line, whether they realize it or not. And that's why I think that's because of that simple trend and direction. I think we are sort of being forced to innovate ourselves. I think it's a good direction to be open for me personally. So that's why I think the simple fact is in government, we have 200, 300 agencies. In the past, they may develop their own database, website, application, and so on. But I think that's not the good direction, right? If I'm the citizen, I don't need to install or download 20, 30, 50 apps. It will not work, right? So that's why now we are working towards that. We have like the one-stop service whereby we can integrate. Actually, you can download. I think sorry for my promotion here. Jakarta Kini, one of our one-stop service for Jakarta, and we are not only working together with government agencies to provide services. Let's say, you can check, let's say, certain prices or commodities prices, or also about the complaint of citizen. You check the warning about flood, about COVID-19, and so on. So we are moving forward. So it's like a so-called unicorn startup company whereby we build our services phase by phase, which one that will be required by our so-called customers and so on. So again, because of this, for sure, the back-end part, the data, the maturity will be highly critical. And at the same time, we know the threat as well. Moving forward, our users can be 5, 10, 20 more times. Let's say just early beginning this year, our usage may be around 50K, 100K users. But now, after COVID-19, we almost reached 800K users. So I think the multiplication is around 7, 8, 10 times. I'm not sure in the next few months it can reach, let's say, 15, 20 times. And that's exactly why we need the cloud platform to support the business case about the future innovation trend. And for sure, we are thinking about digital transformation. And I think this COVID-19 situation is really a great trigger for us with all the bad and good and bad impact. But at least for us as a government, it triggers innovation. And then we try to think to solve the problem in a more exciting angle. I think that's my comment, Pak Sonny.
Wow, 800,000 people using the app, maybe more after this event.
We are targeting 1 million, but we are targeting 1 million, and hopefully next year will be 2 million. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, you don't have to wait until next year. Don't worry about that. What is it called again? Jakarta Kini. Where can we find it?
Jakarta Kini, it's available in the via App Store and also the Google Play Store as well. So yeah, you can seek that. I believe from Jabar, they have their own application. I believe in the national level they have. So I think it's my excitement to see in Indonesia, the government itself become more aware and more open about innovation. And I think it's a good thing for me. Yeah, so I think that's my comment.
Fantastic. I've got one more question for you. This is coming from audience, Juan. question is, in this pandemic, I'm going to read it for you. In this pandemic time, how does the cloud-based data analytics system support the government decision-making strategy?
Okay.
Can you name one or two actual DKI province decision-making that is or are based on data analytics? How about port or even vehicle policy? Oh,
yeah. Let me share step by step here. So firstly about the decision making, and then about the policy, and second one about the cloud, right? I believe for the COVID-19 situation, I believe Jabar experienced the same thing. It's a really good momentum for us to so-called educate our stakeholders, our so-called government agencies to make better decision based on data. So just to give some of the concrete examples, yeah, for sure, you open the corona.jakarta.go.id is our official website. You see the daily trend and then the so-called the monthly recap as well about the patient or from the health perspective in Jakarta, the symptoms, the actual positive cases, the recovery situation, and so on. So that's one thing. And secondly, about the transportation. So just to share a bit here, not to promote anyone, but we have like the Google Waze transportation data. So from there, we are able to assess our transportation or mobility situation in a more granular level. So we use that for our assessment of PSBB, the social mobility limitation, about the odd even policy. In the past, we assessed the impact of the operation of MRT in Jakarta towards the traffic jam. So we did that. And also even now, we are considering about the bike policy or the ride sharing, bike sharing policy in Jakarta. So we are using this kind of transportation data, and even what we know more and more bike sharing data that we can analyze, so we can understand their movement and so on. I think that's some of the example. Third one is about the economic impact, social distribution. Yeah, we know there are certain limitations here and there, but at least we try to be able to understand our citizen demography more systematically in a more granular level, and we provide the assistance hopefully in a more accurate manner. For sure, there are still limitations, but yeah, I think there are certain improvement, let's say in comparison of last year or even 2 years from now, right? So I think those are some of the examples that I can share and try to relate to the cloud platform. Again, this is come back to the beginning, right? So the decision making is there, the policy is there, the needs is there. But again, the question is what kind of data that we should store on the cloud? What kind of data that we only should refer internally? What kind of data that we can share to the public via cloud, via API, and so on? So I think we have a bit more categorization over there. Some of them are already available in the cloud. If you are referring, let's say, as simple as Google Drive as a cloud, it's already there, right? Some of the data, and the simplest one. But for sure, I believe the question are referring to the more sophisticated cloud platform that consists of, let's say, data warehouse, compute engine, and so on. I think we are moving step by step over there, and I cannot tell very clearly yet because I think some of them are still confidential. But we are seriously assessing to our 3 cloud providers, and we have a really specific use cases for each of them. And there's high chance for us Jakarta to engage multiple cloud platform or providers. I think that's our current state that I can share with you.
Okay, good. I have another one question left. This is coming from Aun Abdul Wadud. This for yourself again, Juan.
Okay, sure.
This I'm going to read it for you. Could possibly the telco data can support and giving more value in your roadmap for Jakarta Smart City?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
He mentioned that by combining your data, Excel data and telco data, we could possibly enrich the information and insight for our society.
Yeah, for sure. The more the merrier, right? I believe you are all aware as a data professional, the more we get the data, the more we can do our analysis, more technique and so on. But I may be very blunt and upfront. I'm not sure the question is from the telco companies or what. But I mean, in the last 2-3 years, we keep engaging with the telco company. We see the high potential in using the data. It can be the telco providers. It can be from the integrators. But I have to be upfront here. In terms of the administration, commercial, and agility, I think there is still high concern about that. I think we need to sort out a better business model and a working relation. Let's see how it goes. But so far, we try to engage with telco providers, telco companies, telco mobility data, and so on. But I think to be open, in terms of the real use case in Jakarta, I think it's still not that exciting yet. I see a more strategic potential benefits that can be leveraged. But let's see, hopefully by end of this year or maybe early next year, there will be some more exciting initiative based on the telco data. I received some sample data in the past, but I think, yeah, in terms of the engagement and then the excitement in terms of the use cases can be highly improved. I think that's my comment.
Great, thank you so much, Juan. I'm going to go to Vasanth now. Juan mentioned that Jakarta, as a smart city, they have their own so-called app, one-stop app, which is Jakarta Kini. Do you have that, Vasanth, for your customer in retail, possibly?
Okay, obviously for the various countries like India, Indonesia, so where our entirely our banking services are offered in a digital manner, right? So completely all the services are provided via the DigiBank app. So where we don't have a larger physical presence, right? So it's completely through the Digi app. So obviously, yes, these countries provide all their services through the one single app, from which the customers can avail a plethora of services. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. We sadly have very limited time. I'd like to say thank you so much for all the panelists and all audience. It's been very good interactive discussion. Sadly, I have to pass this over to Bhavana. Bhavana, here we go.
Yes, thank you so much. What an incredible panel this was. And thank you to each and every one of you for joining us on the World Cloud Show. Once again, a big, big thank you.